Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Andrew. This is Chad, and this is the ExtraAmo podcast. Let's get started. All right. So, introductions first off. This is my friend Chad. He is.
Hey, good evening. How's it going?
It's going very well.
Thanks for having me here.
No. Well, thank you for having me here.
All right, fair enough.
I have to let you be in your own house,
Yes.
so
All right, thanks. Thanks for keeping it comfortable for me.
Well, Chad here is a regular comedian, a father of two, a husband, business owner, and let's say you are a fan of firearms. But
yeah, I really have become a fan in recent years, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely newer to the journey than a lot of people. I definitely consider myself on the novice side still, but really taking an interest in the past 4 or 5 years, and really tried to do a bit of an accelerated learning curve for what I can, and you've been a big part of that. So I owe a lot of credit to you for that knowledge and experience that I have.
Well, you're welcome. But you're telling me that as a Mainer, that you didn't grow up shooting guns in like middle school and.
Well, not every day. I definitely did some of that, with grandparents and with the father, and did a bit of that, enough to have a baseline, but didn't really take a serious interest in it. Never really been a hunter, but I've taken an interest and starting to take it a lot more serious in the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole world changed a few years ago, right?
It did. If you weren't paying attention prior to that, for me, I felt like it was time to pay attention to a lot of things and have a different perspective on a lot of things.
Well, yeah, coming into this later on, I would imagine it makes finding information and vetting it to be a little bit interesting.
Yes, certainly, as is the case with so many things in the world these days. Is where do you get your information, and what do you trust, and how do you kind of really put together something that resembles the truth? Yeah,
for sure. Now I know that oftentimes you'll ask me questions. I think I might be the first stop for a lot of the.
That is true. That's absolutely true. You're kind of my own little AI agent, Andrew, over here for a lot of things. But yeah, I still try to. I've got to a point where I realize I try not to pester you with every simple question if I can do a little bit of my own research, but also again, as being interested in the stuff, just kind of try to follow along some different channels and different avenues to gather some knowledge.
Yeah. So one of the things I always told my students back in the computer science days was, a degree in computer science is kind of like a degree in Googling stuff, but like knowing how to get from a Google search to what you need to know.
Sure, you got to know what to ask Google, right?
Well, yeah, what to ask, and then look at the sources.
Right.
If you're looking for a software that or a programming language that's only existed for a year or two, right, and you're led to a help page that's 6 years old, it's probably not going to get you there, right? If you're dealing with problems that have just occurred in the last version of the software you're working with, the 3-year-old page won't get you there, and certain sources are going to be less helpful than others. And I think the same exists in the firearm space, right?
Sure.
You Google, best gun for concealed carry, you're going to get all sorts of stuff.
It changes every month.
Well,
to some extent.
To some extent, right?
Yes.
So outside of me, are there any sources that you can think of that you like, that you would say have impressed you to the point where you trust them?
Yeah. think of anything specifically, although kind of follow some of the popular YouTubers and things like that as far as getting some ideas and getting some concepts. So you can definitely found myself searching for different information, concepts, theories, or specific like weapons. And to your point, you want to kind of look through. You don't want to just take the first YouTuber's take on it, because you don't know. They might be biased. They might have just had an earlier version of a weapon that's with problems that have been fixed, or they may have a great take on something, and then somebody else has kind of over time realized there's some issues that have to be considered. So I always will try to look at 2 or 3 sources and really at least try to look to make sure that they've got some reputation through various ways. So it seems like it's important in this world to in this weapons world too, to really kind of build your different, a team of people and different opinions, and really a lot of people bounce ideas off each other, and it's one of the great things, that part of the camaraderie of it all too, is kind of different ideas and different thoughts on things.
It's challenging for me too, because like obviously work in a gun store, and I'm pretty obsessed with this stuff. But it's hard because, like, I don't have, I didn't work as a cop for, a dozen years, right? I didn't do that stuff every day. I wasn't in the military, right? So I didn't get issued a weapon. So when it comes to this, it's either something I paid money for that I'm testing out, something that's coming to the store that I luckily get to play with, right? Sure. Or I have to trust some source of information that I've hopefully vetted enough, right? It's like, well, I trust them, but like, how much really should I trust them? And are they being paid? And hey, right. I can tell everybody out there, I am being paid by nobody yet. So I mean, you can trust my opinion if you want for now.
Yeah, so far unsponsored, which is we brag about that until we become sponsored, right?
I would say so, yeah.
At which point that...
And then I'm only going to tell the truth about my sponsors, obviously. If you're a sponsor out there. but no, it's hard. I mean, like I look at and there are channels too that, especially on YouTube, where like I kind of trust them, right? But I also, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, right? Mm-hmm. Where's it come from? What is their background and what are they looking for? Especially when you talk about like the value proposition discussion.
Well, yeah,
right.
Certainly.
There's so many people who say, well, this is just as good. The Amazon version is just as good. And I think I've told you sometimes, like this actually is one of those instances. Like, I've been testing out a lot of the like Bifrost gear stuff. I don't know if I sent you any links on that. Dirty Civilian recommended one of their products, and I love their stuff. Mm-hmm. I can tell that the quality seems to not be, the same. Like the fit and finish isn't quite there, but like I'm beating the crap out of the stuff and I'm not breaking it.
They're broken,
right? So I've been loving it because the cost of their pressure switch versus a Unity pressure switch. I mean, I can buy 2 or 3 of them.
Sure.
And the features on them are often better too.
Nice.
It's kind of cool. Like I just did this video on the Kuna, and the pressure switch I used it looks like the Unity switch, but it comes to the end and you can attach whatever you want to it. So you don't have to have 6 switches. You get 6 tips, one for crane, one for surefire, one for whatever. It's the same button. And cool. I want to hate it and I want to say this is going to break, but I'm testing it and I haven't broken it yet.
Well, I think too, with a lot of stuff and a lot of different equipment, we try to think a bit about like our potential use case for it, and we obviously want it to be reliable, but it's something that we're going to need to work really well a few times, or versus it's something that we need to work really well for 10,000 reps. So I think that's also something that we have to, you weigh out a little bit too with doing these different builds, or when you're buying things. It's a little bit of give and take. If you can't just go to the top echelon of everything.
Right. I mean, I I think I told you that the gun store, we're doing this like competition at the end of the month. It's for charity. It's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the guys coming with us are like, well, you know, like what should I wear for pants? And I'm like, well, if you want to spend $400, Cry Precisions are great, right? I have one pair that I bought, and then I gained weight, and I couldn't fit into them. But now I can again because I've lost some weight, so humble brag. And I love them, but they are not worth $400, right?
Unless you're going to really run those every day, day
Or
in, day out.
your department unit or whatever have you supplies them to you. So that's also kind of hard too, because you know we see a lot of products in the space and they're recommended because you know, I didn't have to pay for it,
right?
And I liked it, right? Would I recommend it? It was coming out of my bank
If you're going to use it a few times a year, it might be a little different situation for sure. That's it's always, and that's something important to take into consideration when you're listening to different sources out there. Is you know, and there are some YouTube channels that do a good job of kind of talking about that value proposition, but it's definitely something that's takes some judgment.
Speaking of well, I guess the things out there and you know a judgment or what have you. I have my sources of like news in firearms, right?
Sure.
Do you have any sources other than Andrew? Like how do you find out new stuff's coming?
There's so much new stuff that comes out through. I'm not to a point where I can tell if that's actually cool or important or not. So really, that is mostly you. But you know, I get plenty of solicitation emails through our different vendors that I've bought things from and whatnot, and get a lot of opportunities for that type of stuff. But as far as the latest and greatest, I wait for you to tell me what's actually going to be the greatest.
Okay. Well,
no pressure, but
yeah. Well, I guess speaking of that, one of my sources of news is are the vendors at the shop. They'll call me up. So my SIG vendor called me today, and there's a new version of the SIG, the Flux Raider. They're calling it the Tech Ops version, which is cool because instead of gray, it's black. And instead of having a ported slide, it has a regular slide. And instead of having a barrel that you're going to replace with a threaded barrel, you guessed it, it comes with a threaded barrel. Which, you know, might make you a little bit unhappy.
Might have been handy on the... would have been a little less building involved with our... when I bought one of those, but...
yeah.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear that we weren't alone in thinking that those might be a good idea.
Yeah, well, and I think that's sort of one of those things that speaks to what we're talking about, which is, you know, something comes out and you're like, oh, that's really cool, it's new. Like, you know, everyone's talking about how awesome this Flux Raider is, which for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a chassis system that you can stick a fire control unit for technically other firearms. They were going to make other versions, but right now, just the P320 and the P365 into, you put a slide on it, you put the fire control unit, and you get like a little carbine with a brace. Right. And SIG partnered with them, and they made this version that is gray and has a ported slide like their other Legions, which is cool, right? Very
beautiful.
Right. But if you have a Flux Raider, you want to suppress it.
I certainly want the option to, yeah.
Right, so of course you just put a threaded barrel in there, but you can't because of that ported slide. So you need a whole new slide, and you need a whole new slide that doesn't have suppressor height sights because of the mount for the optic on this thing. So what you kind of have to do if you're buying directly from SIG, most of the slides they sell have suppressor height sights for some reason now. So you got to buy a slide, you got to put different sights on it with a sight pushing tool and a different barrel. And of course, that's a different recoil spring too. So you got to do all the things to get it to go. And I'm wondering how many people saw that, thought it was super cool, right? Bought it and was like, yeah, no, it's not worth it to me to do the thing to make it a suppressor ready, especially if they're not as obsessed with suppressors as maybe I am. And now there's a new version, right? And, when my SIG rep called me, he's like, we got something new. And I'm like, ooh, I hope it's not a P320.
Yeah, right, sure. And explain what you mean by that.
So P320s, which, are the, M17 and M18 designation for the military, are a 9mm pistol that lately has gotten some reports of perhaps, what are they calling it? Undirected discharges. Meaning, the gun fires and the person who should be in control of that firearm did not mean for it to fire. Definitely would love to talk about that at length. In fact, I plan, perhaps, for the next podcast to have somebody where we're going to talk about it at length.
That sounds like it could be a whole episode, or a big part of one.
Yeah, for sure. But I told them, I hope it's not a P320 because sales on any of those, because of all the reports coming out, have gone to near zero. And he's like, ooh, well, yeah, kind of. But, we're still going to get one in the shop, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got to be a really rad.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, I haven't stopped buying P320s, and
Sure.
I don't think that whatever this is cause for abandoning the platform in its entirety.
Sure.
And I'll leave it at that for now.
All right.
But yeah, no, in this space, news is it's interesting. It's interesting. I will I'll get an Instagram update that Smith & Wesson is doing something, and then I'll get my guy calling me, hey, you want to buy these things? Which is always interesting too, because sometimes they'll call me up and be like, oh, you want to buy this thing? I'll be like, yeah, sure. And they'll be like, all right, cool. Let's see if we can get it. And I went to SHOT Show this year, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the big industry show. And
Where is that?
Vegas.
That's what I thought.
Vegas,
okay.
yes.
Great.
And it's at the Venetian.
The
big multi-area, big, huge expo.
Sure. So pictures is huge. So it must be huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's huge and absurd and excessive, and it really is an opportunity for companies and businesses in this to do two things. One, announce products that hopefully they will be able to actually ship by the next SHOT Show.
How often do you think that they're really just trying to gauge demand and see if their prototype is worth producing?
Frequently.
Apparently quite a bit.
Frequently. And it's actually interesting. So at SHOT Show, there's the main floors, and it's the main floors. Like, it's a massive show, right? Wow. And then there's smaller rooms that are like dedicated to less big names in the industry. Okay. And I gotta tell you, like my interest was all in those small rooms.
I can
right?
picture that, yeah. More niche stuff.
And it's interesting because, I had a conversation with one gentleman. I think it was Jack Industries, and JAK, and he was making these handguards, and it's a proprietary new system. I'm not sure if it'll ever take off, but what was really cool about it is the nut that interfaces with the handguard for the AR. It's entirely on the outside. So instead of going through like M-LOK or Keymod, it's on the outside. And I was like, hey man, this is great for like sinking a cannon, doing the Honey Badger, the Cane Break, which are two famous guns where the suppressor actually goes inside the handguard because the handguard is longer than the barrel.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, this is great. Like, this is a great... And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm from California, and I don't really know about any of that, but, like, I'll work on it, and that's cool. And I ended up getting a prototype. I built a thing in the shop. It was very, very cool. Nice. But like, that excites me.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
What doesn't excite me is a company that, like Holosun, right, that, has been announcing thermals and laser devices, which are quite good.
Right.
Especially for the price point. But then we fast forward weeks, months, sometimes years, and when you can finally get the product, they announce something else, right? Iris 3, which I think is probably for the price, one of the best, if not the best, IR laser illuminator combo with a slaved visible green laser on the market. I think it's a great product. And like, they're finally in stock. I probably get them in the shop. I could sell them. It's great. And they're like, oh, hey, we're also gonna make one, and we're calling it the Iris 4. And and it has a light on it too. It has a white light built into it.
Yeah, right.
So now that you can get our last product, we're gonna make all of your customers super excited about this new product. And we'll let you know when they're available.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's announcing products that happens at these shows, and then the second thing is the building, as I think you touched on before, like the building the connections and getting the people who, one of the things I'm lucky enough because I work in the industry is the connections, right? Sure. I have people I can call up. I have my SIG rep where I hear something is going on. I call them up and be like, hey man. And, he's probably going to give me the company line, but at least it's a data point I can add in.
Of course. Right.
So there's that. So, all right, guys, I have got a firearm once again to talk about. It is, a little bit heavy. It is the IWI SAR 7.62 by 51. Bullpup rifle.
It's really the most beautiful, ugly rifle I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's got it's a gun that, only its maker, only the gunsmith could love. It definitely doesn't look like most rifles out there, and there's pros and cons to that.
It's really. I mean, I remember the first time that you showed me a bullpup, and I was fascinated by the concept of it. I was also concerned that a couple of AR platforms I bought, maybe I had the wrong. I was like, oh crap, there's a better weapon out there? Why didn't you tell me about that first? But I guess it's, I don't know, a little give and take, right?
Right. So one of the major drawbacks to the bullpup platform is the ergonomics.
Okay. Sure.
Right.
So why do they call it a bullpup? I mean, aside from the fact that I can remember that because it's recognizable and that it's kind of different looking, but.
Yeah. So when you say bullpup, that term refers to the action and magazine here being behind the pistol grip. All right. And that comes from some other term somewhere, but that's what it means. That's what it means. Any of these bullpup style weapons are gonna benefit from a longer barrel, right? And a relatively short overall length.
Sure.
Right. But yeah, it's odd. It's different than certainly an AR. But the ergonomic differences don't just stop with how you reload it or how you shoot it or anything like that. As you can kind of see here, if you were to grab this, may or may not be fine to hold or to shoot or to use in a normal capacity until such time as you want to like brace it on something or like rest it on a rock. Then it's like, oh, hey, my hands are very exposed. I don't have a big old hand guard, right, to use there. But before we talk about pros and cons, let me work through it, right? Talk about what it is.
So maybe you're gonna get to this, but where did the bullpup, like what country did these? Were these created in America or a different country or?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. So this obviously is IWI, Israeli Weapons Industries.
Okay.
Right? So original design would be Israel, though this was manufactured in Pennsylvania, it looks like. So that's kind of cool.
All right.
American made. But there have been bullpups from all over the planet, right?
Okay.
You've got British bullpup, right, which was in service. I think actually might still be being phased out, but is still in service with some of the British military. They've used bullpups across the board, actually. There have been some used by militaries. I mean, this is the big one. The British one's the other big one.
Sure.
I mean, Kel-Tec makes a bullpup that is American designed and manufactured. That's kind of cool. I mean, those are the mad lads down in Florida who make like all the stuff,
Sure.
you know, with all the different colors and plastics.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would say the design behind this is fairly foreign. We like Eugene Stoner's AR design.
Yeah.
In fact, like we can't get away from it.
I mean,
right?
to me, that just screams America. But I just wasn't sure if this was a different part of the world. But
Well, I mean, it certainly, but there, as far as I know, I don't think any American fighting forces ever used this.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, the fighting forces that have used this or the more common 5.56 variants of the bullpup design, they're actually moving away from that because they're NATO countries. And what do we use? We use something that looks like an M16, an AR, an M4. Sure. But I mean, yeah, to your point, the it being American to have a rifle that is that style, I mean, you look at why is that, right? Why have these not caught on in the wider warfare scene? Because everybody since like the 60s has been using something of an AR style. And that carries over even to the new next generation squad weapon, right? What is it? The SIG Spear, right, in 6.8 by 51, which is the new whiz bang cartridge, right? That's basically an AR-10, right? But if you want a long barrel in an AR platform, you need a huge overall length, right?
Right.
I mean, you've seen it. You know, you get an AR-10, 16-inch barrel, right? And then you want to put another 8-inch suppressor on the end, right? That becomes really long. Not something I would want to, be clearing a house with. Now, this is cool because it is short. And in fact, actually, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say optical illusion, but I've been a little sneaky with this shit.
Okay,
right?
all right.
Because it kind of looks like the barrel starts somewhere around here, and it goes to like somewhere around here.
Right.
But actually, the barrel starts here, and it stops about here. Because I cheated. This is a one of the AB suppressors. I'm pretty sure it's the Raptor, but they have what they call this reflex system, where it allows for additional area inside of the suppressor by having a piece that actually goes over the barrel. Right? Increases volume without increasing overall length. And I thought, hey, I've already got this thing. It's nice and short. Why make it any longer than it needs to be? And if you actually look at this, it's like I've got like a couple millimeters between this and the adjustable gas system. So it is just so.
It just fits.
Just fits.
It's perfect. Perfection.
Moving back from that, I have got a Chris vertical grip, the one that they designed and sort of pair up with the Chris Vector.
All right.
I like it because, well, firstly, it's got a little bit of a barricade stop here, right? So like I mentioned before, if I ever actually had to do anything with this, instead of hitting my knuckles, I could do that there. It also, on the other side of this, has a little groove for, I can show you, but then more importantly, show the camera this groove that has a pressure switch for my light. And it just fits right in here, which is kind of cool. I've got a Surefire light of some sort here on a Arisaka mount to get it up further to reduce that shadow on the suppressor. Have you ever seen that? Where you put a light on the side of your gun,
Suppressor, and then next thing you know, there's a big old shadow, right?
Yes, so that gets it out a little bit further. Also gets it out of the way if you were to grab here and need to, kind of thumb up on it or any of those things there. Magpul backup iron sights on this, mostly because the internet has told me that you must have backup iron sights on every rifle. Can't get away without them.
Well, you can until you can't. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That's how it goes.
Something like that. Something like that. Yeah, the prepper's idea. If you have one of something, it makes it really easy for somebody else to take it from you.
Yeah, certainly. Well, and if it's something with this fancy mechanism here fails or gets broken, then at least you get something left. So yeah,
Yes.
I guess Probably I learned that ideology from you, but I think most of my weapons have backup irons on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope I never need them because I probably won't use them very effectively, but it's give me something to start with.
Speaking of that fancy mechanism up top, this is a Vortex, and it is, I want to say, a Viper PST. Yes, Viper PST 1-6 LPVO. What does LPVO stand for?
It means something that we always ask Andrew to remind us what that means.
Yes, and I'll remind you now, it stands for Low Power Variable Optic, right? Which generally means 1 power, right? That you can kind of use a little bit like a red dot.
Right.
Up to another power. So I said it was a 1-6, so it goes up to 6x.
Right.
And I've got this throw lever on here that allows you to somewhat easily change between 1 and...
Yeah, I notice that's turning a little hard.
Yeah, it is. I don't actually love throw levers. I tend to like bump them or otherwise move them when you're slinging or you're moving the thing around. I'll only use them in an instance where it's really rough. And I like this optic, I do, but it's a little hard to change the magnification. So without this, I wouldn't want to be cranking on that.
Fighting it, which I mean, it's not going to move by accident, but although it may with the lever on it, I suppose. But
it is mounted to the rifle with an ADM mount, which is American Defense Manufacturing. It is the Vortex branded option, which is kind of cool, but it's got these throw levers on the side so you can quickly disconnect it. And
to throw with the backup irons.
That's exactly it. Because if I'm going to have backup irons, I need to be able to get the scope off. Because once again, the internet's told me, the Russians are coming at me, and my scope goes down. What do I do? I got to take it off. You know.
I hope I'm following. I hope I'm following behind you if you ever dump a nice scope like that off. I'm picking that thing up.
Hey, put it in the dump pouch.
That's right.
Andrew dumped the optic. I put it in the dump pouch. Yep. So that's the scope. Behind the Chris grip is actually aftermarket grip. This regularly comes with what they call like a cutlass style grip. Cutlass style actually has a protector for your hands. So I know I was complaining about not having the knuckle protection. It does normally have that. But I have gone to this style, which is actually an OEM IWI option. And the reason for that being is that when I don't have this divider here under the trigger, I'll often grab it too quickly, and my middle finger will sort of slide up in here, right? Which is not a good place for it to be.
It looks like a trigger stop.
Yeah, it will stop the trigger, and when you want a gun to go bang and you are pulling on it, in the normal course of fire, but your finger, because of this wonderful cutlass grip, has gone behind it, it leads to frustration. And it leads to going on to the IWI website later that evening and purchasing this grip instead.
I understand.
So that is how that happened.
All right.
I also,
like a nice reasonable upgrade.
I think the last thing I have to talk about is this, which is a curved shoulder pad.
All right, yeah.
Made by Manticore Arms. So I completely describe everything I've changed in this. This is actually probably my favorite upgrade on the 7.62x51 Tavor.
Okay.
Because when it's just this flat, like this is made of rubber.
Right.
What it comes with is a flat plastic pad. And 308 has... a
little kick to it. A little bit.
Yeah. So this actually will kind of roll over your shoulder, reduce the rise, and make it a heck of a lot more pleasant to shoot.
Yeah. All right. What do you run for magazines in this?
So this is actually this is a 20 round standard capacity PMag that would work in any AR-10. So it's your standard like what DPMS or DPMS AR-10.
So that's nice. If we run the same magazines.
Yes, and you could put other maybe higher standard capacity magazines that are standard capacity because of YouTube restrictions.
Yeah,
there are certain capacities you're not supposed to talk about. It definitely changes where the magazine is, which actually is another point I didn't even think of. If you've got a really long magazine, right? It's kind of like nicer to have it close to your body, especially if you're doing barricade stuff, than on like an AR-10, right? So you could presumably go with a longer magazine here, but what you can't do is go to a drum magazine here, because then you can't really do this.
You can't get your arm.
So that is a negative of the platform. And you asked before, you know, hey, I've got all these ARs, now I'm seeing the bullpup. Did I make the wrong call? And on paper, this sounds perfect, right? Like, it's great, right? It's short overall length.
Right.
It's got 16-inch ballistics of a 308 or 7.62x51 cartridge, right? Which are not the same, by the way. You know, the same way that 223 and 5.56.
They're close.
They are.
But.
They are. I think I was with Paul Harrell, who said, when he was talking about 223 and 5.56, and I'm sure many other people have said it, but he said, it's not enough of a difference for most people to make a difference. It's just not. And that's kind of the case here, too. It's just the opposite of the 223, 5.56 thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, technically 5.56 can be higher pressure than 223. Almost none of it is, but it can be.
Could be, sure.
308 can be higher pressure than 7.62x51, so that's something to keep in mind. Almost none of it is. And 7.62x51 is supposed to be able to cycle semi-automatic, so you could theoretically make 308 that like would only work in a bolt action. I'm not sure that anyone ever has, or how you would even function in that space, but you could.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, knowing the difference is important there. But back to our point of you know, why doesn't everybody run a bullpup? Why isn't the whole world doing it? Well, it's weird. It's slower. It's definitely many times slower than working off of you know, a traditional AR platform.
Uh-huh.
Certainly for me.
You talk about reloads and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reloads and more than that too. Reloads are odd, but the weight balance of this is odd too. Everything about it sounds good, and then you start shooting it. Like, you know, the AR platform was designed to really recoil backwards in a very particular way, right? Have a very particular pivot point, have the ability for the front of it to, you know, interact with things in the world of combat. When you start using a bullpup, you start realizing how it all kind of breaks down, right? How things happen that are not great. Now, this one at least has the AR style safety. The previous version, sorry, not safety, magazine release. The previous version had a magazine release that was elsewhere. It was back here somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you could definitely hit that without meaning to.
Sure. Or not hit it when you mean to. Not be able to find it when you mean to, right?
That is
Both, sure.
That is true. And then you've got the bolt release, which is back here, right? And again, you know, on paper it sounds like, okay, it would be really close to you, so it's like super easy. But turns out it's actually easier if something's out in front of you to work with it, right? Like, we like working with things with our hands out here,
sure.
Right? No one's like sewing like this,
right?
You know what I mean? So yeah, reason I brought this, thought it would be cool to discuss, was that, you know, it's one of those things where a new person could see this, think, hey, this is really cool, and I'm seeing people who are really in love with it, this is awesome, and get convinced without the experience of shooting them, without the experience of knowing kind of the limitations of that maybe this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is not. I do really like it, though. I do.
Well, it's got its use case, which is really, as I've learned, the situation with so many weapons, and you can have hundreds of them, and you can justify a use case of them, or at least justify it to your people that are asking about why you're spending all that kind of money. But you can, you know, there's a lot of use cases, and this is more of a specialty field, maybe. But
yeah, it is.
Now, really neat, interesting.
I will say, when it comes to ammo, right? I kind of love this thing, because it groups pretty well. Now, when we're talking about bullpups, right? You got trigger down here, and you've got an action back here. So somehow this trigger is going to be relayed way back here. So generally the triggers suck, right? This one's not too bad, in my opinion. I have been waiting for a company that makes a 2-stage that's like supposed to be very good for these to go back in stock. But then they were back in stock and they were like, we had a problem with production and like maybe it made the guns unsafe. So now I'm like on the fence about it. But I have gotten regularly 2 to 3 inch groups at 100 yards with this. Now that's not great, right? Like 1 MOA is kind of like the standard for a modern rifle.
Yeah.
But I've gotten that with your standard NATO M80 ball, which is like the cheapest, most bulk ammo you can get.
Yep.
And yeah, when it comes to this gun, actually it groups with cheap ammo. So I will give it that.
All right.
It's definitely pretty cool.
Now hold on. Speaking of ammo, I've been meaning to ask you this all night. The name of this podcast is Extra Ammo, and I haven't been at this a long time, but I do know that ammo is spelled with 2 M's. So what's the deal? And you're a smart guy, so please explain.
So yeah, well that's a great question, Chad. So I have been going by ExtraAmo on the internet for some time.
Oh boy, you got a reputation.
No, not really, not really, because I was never good at video games, but it was my gamer tag, because my last name. You know what the first 3 letters of that are?
AMO.
Right, and I'm like, this is so clever, and like, who wouldn't bring extra ammo to like a Call of Duty raid, right? So like, it was super clever, and I have youtube.com/extraammo because, you know, I signed up for it a bajillion years ago. I don't have to add numbers to it, you know, it doesn't have to be at yahoo.com. I mean, it's great.
Yes.
So, yes, that is where the ammo and extra ammo comes from.
All right, I like it. I like it. Ammo's in your last name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like, you know, I should have done this before the whole computer science thing. You know what I mean? Like maybe this was the vocation all along. Like the universe was trying to tell me something.
Maybe. There's no such thing as coincidences, according to some.
I mean, well, your guess is as good as mine on that. Or some such thing. But I think we have sufficiently explained the firearm. I think we've sufficiently explored the topics we wanted to explore, and hopefully next time I will get into perhaps some of the things about the 320 that's on the radar. So I will say to people, perhaps, you know, if you have any opinions on that, you know, you can comment, or you know, if you have any other suggestions for future podcasts, please.
I mean, I know the one thing that I always hear is don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, and hit the bell. Hit the bell icon.
Yeah,
you gotta hit the bell icon.
But make sure you get notifications for when Andrew drops.
Yes, and if you've got 3 or 4 email accounts and you want to just log into all of them.
Yeah, we're still trying to pad the stats here, right?
Yeah, of course. You know. Like I said, I'm not sponsored yet, so you can trust me.
Go ahead and put it on replay. So 3 or 4 replays a day.
Does somebody get into a ton of trouble for doing that on Spotify or something?
Probably. I suspect that we're not the first people. I'm not the first one to think of that. So yeah, maybe don't do that. All right, we're trying to keep this.
Yeah, above board. But thank you for tuning in. I've been Andrew. This is Chad. This is the Extra Ammo podcast, and stay safe out there.